Hello and welcome to the Roy Rogers News Channel. Thank you so much for watching. And for today's broadcast, I'm actually going to debut a brand new series. And the new series is called the Player Betterment Series. And this series basically allows for me to dive into certain topics that people might want to know a bit more about. And with me here is Kaio. Would you like to say hello, Facio, Kaio?
Hello, and I want to make a quick introduction. I am the artist formerly known as Community Manager Kayo. Thank you very much.
Excellent. All right, and for disclosure, I also need to introduce you to somebody else as well. Kaio is also a member of my YouTube channel, so I would like to note that for disclosure reasons. So thank you so much for being a donor of the Roy Rogers News Channel.
You're welcome.
Certainly. And before we dive into our video, the 3 common PokeMMO myths, you might be asking, how come I picked Kaio as a co-host? And that's a good question. In my interview with Kaio is quite a bubbly, outgoing guy, and I thought he'd be an excellent guy to have on the Roy Rogers News Channel to bring some flavor to the channel. So, Kaio, thank you so much for your lovely talent here.
Basically, what Mr. Mayor is saying is we goofed off a lot during that interview, and we had a good time. So here I am for another good time.
Excellent. All right, Kaio, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, perfect. So let's go and dive into the 3 common PokeMMO myths right now. So what is our first myth, Kaio?
Well, first up, we have that people generally think that the super rich players in PokeMMO are actually older players.
Well, there are plenty of players who played PokeMMO more recently that are extremely rich. Of note, if you are looking for where to get started, then you could make some proper investments, open up a shop, and do a service. I actually have a video about that. Do some gym runs, and many more options. For more in-depth analysis on each of these topics, feel free to check out my money video.
Oh.
Or, if you would like to have more detail about services, I actually made an entire 40-something minute video about services and how to conduct your services, so that way you can be able to stand out compared to the other people trying to get their start. So, hopefully you all enjoy starting up a service on PokeMMO. That's how I got my start in 2014, and it is still the tried and true way that a lot of people use to get themselves started. Well, there's actually a person on PokeMMO I'd like to talk briefly about, and his name is Garib. I hope I said his name correct. And Garib has done a lot of services for a lot of different people, quite established in the community. And Garib is quite a famous guy for his excellent service attitude. So shout out to him, and he is my personal leveler in case I can't really get to my Pokemon. So thank you so much, Garib, for your services. And you could probably do the same thing too if you're interested. So feel free to start up a service, whatever that is, or feel free to do gym runs. Without further ado, I'd like to dive into the second common myth that a lot of PokeMMO players think. Kaio, would you like to take it away?
Absolutely. This is a big one for me as well. People usually think that only completing one region is enough, but we disagree.
There are plenty of reasons to complete all the regions. Some Pokemon are region exclusives or easier to obtain in another region. Think of Pokemon like Tauros and Johto, for example. Or think of things like Pidgey in Kanto's Route 1. When you open up a shop or start up a service, then some people may want you to come to their location. Kind of like the UPS driver driving up to your house, sort of thing. You can also have access to certain gyms, swarms, and alpha swarms, which make it easier to complete the Pokedex. And there are also certain perks for certain regions on PokeMMO. So let's go and start off with Kanto. Kanto is the most popular place and easier to navigate for certain events like the October event, the Winter event, and the Lunar New Year. There are also 2 leftovers in that region, so I know leftovers is very good in PvP, so you can be able to pick those free leftovers up without having to accumulate battle points to buy those leftovers. And then in Hoenn, you also have berry plots, so if you're an avid berry farmer, this might be a good way to make some money on PokeMMO, so feel free to have access to those berry plots. You can also make secret bases. In fact, I wrote an entire guide on forums about that, so feel free to check out all the secret base decorations if you're interested. Contests. I also have another guide on that too. Draco Tamer Ghost written a fair amount of that, so thank you so much to Draco Tamer. And the Battle Frontier. In that same ribbon guide, I also have a guide about the Battle Frontier as well, about how to have certain teams for that for ribbon reasons. And shard farming spot south of Zootopolis underwater. And my most recent ally in the YouTube Alliance, Young Cabbage, who is also a YouTube member, which is why I made Petrowski the vice chair of the YouTube Alliance because of conflict of interest. But I would like to say thank you so much, Young Cabbage, for being another donor of the Roy Rogers News Channel. Also of note that Young Cabbage has an excellent video about how you can farm for shards while shiny hunting for Lantern. And you can also turn in those shards into the evolutionary stones in case you need them. So thank you so much to Young Cabbage. Feel free to check out his work when you have the time. And there's also a leftovers in the SS title in the basement in a trash can at the top left, if you're interested in that. And now let's go ahead and talk about Sinnoh and the perks there. So Sinnoh, you can get more berry plots. There are also some rich trainers there, particularly south of Heart Hometown. Just go south over to that route, the Pokemon Mansion. You can be able to fight the gentleman in the Socialite and the 2 rich trainers there that are right by the mansion. You can also get a free Life Orb and leftovers. Now, Life Orb is located at Mount Stark. Now, it is just before the actual cave, but you have to complete the Sinnoh Elite Four first in order to access that free Life Orb. Now, as for the leftovers, you need to complete the Sinnoh Dex's scene. So in other words, right over here, you can go and check in Sinnoh here. This needs to be all white. Do you see the scene there at the bottom left of the screen? That needs to be all white. Once that's all white, you can be able to go to Professor Rowan, and then he could be able to give you the National Dex. And then with that, you could be able to go to the Victory Road, and you'll be able to access that leftovers, assuming that you have done the Marley quest over in the Victory Road. So make sure you escort her out, and then once she's out, then you can be able to get the leftovers. In Unova, there are a lot of berry plots. In fact, both places are flyable locations. So I'm thinking of Miss Charlton City and the Abundant Shrine. There are also excellent EV trading spots, excellent pickup spots for high-value items such as Stardust, Star Piece, Pearl, Big Pearl, and Shards. And the place I had in mind when I was writing the script was on Delatown. 2 of the richest NPCs can be fought at Route 13, which are the Gentleman and the Socialite. Now, I did not list Cynthia or Marmoto because those 2 battles require skill. And the problem with requiring skill is that you're going to have to come in with a very good team in order to fight both Marmoto and Cynthia. But fortunately for you, I actually have a guide on both Marmoto and Cynthia revealing their abilities, items, and moves. And those are 2 separate guides, which I could probably link down in the description below. Now, as for the red fight that I know some people are probably going to ask me about in Johto, I did not list that because that battle is going to require a lot of skill. And fortunately for you, that battle is listed down description below in the X-Ray guide. Just scroll down to where the Johto Elite Four is listed, and you should see red there. And I have his Pokemon's abilities, items, and moves. So feel free to check that out if you would like. Speaking about Johto, there are a ton of level up horde spots. So Quagsire, Donphan, etc. This is also the only region where you can pick up Rainbow Quills, which can adjust the IVs of any legendary dog or beast, Raikou, Entei, and Suicune. And speaking about Raikou, Entei, and Suicune, you can only catch 1 legendary dog per monthly cycle. You can also get the weekly ribbons in this region, so feel free to check that out. And I have written about ribbons in another guide, which I can link down in the description below. And Caillou, do you have any statements or thoughts about what I just said?
Absolutely. All I have to add is that alpha swarms are incredibly useful. So the more regions you have, the more access you have to those swarms, which is fantastic. Also, Mount Silver is only accessible after you complete the National Pokédex, meaning you need all 5 regions to complete said Pokédex to have access to Mount Silver. And Mount Silver has a lot of really good Pokemon spawns. Red's in there, which is a really fun endgame battle in my opinion. And it's also a really good spot to farm for Rainbow Quills, which are rather expensive items right now, considering we just got the legendary dogs released last month. So, yeah, do all the regions, people.
The red fight is going to be very hard, and I don't advise for anyone just starting PokeMMO to fight red. If you can, you want to get as many good Pokemon resources as you can before you get into the fight. In fact, I don't know if there's any YouTube publications about a certain team you can use against red, but for anyone who is good in fighting against red, hopefully somebody out there can make a YouTube video about it.
Well, there is a cheese you can do for red.
Okay, can you tell us about it, Caillou?
To use 6 Wobbuffets.
Oh, okay. I don't know if the
all of them with Focus Sash, and then you just counter or Magic Mirror every single Pokemon on this team for that.
I feel like the Pokemon
but that's
developers...
a really boring way to go about it, in my opinion.
I feel like that the Pokemon developers are probably going to patch that.
They might, and they should.
And, yeah. With Red, though, you want to go in with a real good team. Not one that could be patched in an update or two. And with that, you're going to have to do a lot of research, but the good news is that at least you know his Pokemon's ability, items, and moves. Keep in mind that Snorlax is the slowest Pokemon in his team. The rest of the Pokemon are really fast. Actually, the Pikachu's speed surprised me. I mean, actually outsped my Gengar, so... yeah, that Pikachu is just lightning fast. That's another topic for another day, and someone else can probably make a video about Red. And I hope that you all have an excellent fight with Red. So, wish y'all well with that. And there's one more myth that needs to be dispelled. Caillou, would you like to take it away?
Sadly, there are some people in this game that believe that the shiny rate is increased for female characters. Please dispel this myth right now.
This is false logic. I actually knew a guy in PokeMMO who even changed his account from male to female because he thinks that he's going to get a shiny. I've yet to hear from him whether or not he got a shiny or not, but he is still trying with the female character, and it is not working for him so far. But let me go and tell you the legitimate way how shinies can increase for your character. So, the shiny rate can only be increased by donor status or a shiny charm. If you are partaking in a shiny link group, then your rate also goes up by 5%. Shiny charms and donor status do stack together. I have the exact fraction of the probabilities that you're going to have a shiny. So, if you were to encounter a shiny without any sort of extra stuff on your character, then the rate of you encountering a shiny is 1 out of 30,000. Or if you use donor status, then your rate goes from 1 out of 30,000 to 1 out of 27,000. Or if you just use a shiny charm, then your rate goes to 1 out of 27,000. If you pair up the shiny charm link alongside with the donor status, then your rate goes up to 1 out of 25,650. Or if you just do a shiny charm plus donor status, then your rate can go up to 1 out of 24,300. So that is the real way to increase your shiny rate. I would like to mention a statement about this.
I would just like to say, and first off, I don't believe this video is directly sponsored by PokeMMO, so don't take this as a sponsor mention. Donator status is incredibly useful. If you have the disposable income, if you don't mind spending a little bit of money on PokeMMO, I would absolutely recommend that you have donator status at all times. If you're sticking around to play this game, if you're going to focus on shunting, endgame content, stuff like that, donator status is a must, in my opinion.
And you don't have to buy it directly from the gift shop if you don't want to buy from the gift shop. You can always go on the global trade link and you can just search for donor status. I'm going to go ahead and type that. Donators.
That is true, yeah, I forgot to mention that. You can buy vouchers with in-game money in the global trade link.
Certainly. So I don't want
I've never done that.
Yeah, I don't want people to think PokeMMO is a pay-to-win because it's not, because if you dump a bunch of money on PokeMMO, you don't buy knowledge. Knowledge is just something that comes to you as the years go by on PokeMMO. if you buy your success, the problem with that is that eventually that success could be faded throughout the years. So just be careful of that and make sure to acquire the knowledge while you're getting the resources. Alright, so Caillou, do you have any additional statement to make there?
On this topic specifically, no. No, not at all. I think we've covered it.
And with that, we hope to be able to dispel 3 common myths on PokeMMO that a lot of people think about throughout the years, and people have come to me and asked me these questions. It's not just me imagining this. People told me these 3 myths, so the fact that we're able to tackle them in this video, I would say could do a public service to PokeMMO. And I hope that a lot of people on PokeMMO can be able to go in with a better mindset. In fact, I would even argue that there's a video by my friend and colleague Petrowski that talks specifically about the gift shop and PokeMMO and such, so feel free to check that video out in the description below. And yeah, with that, Caillou, do you have any last statements to make before you sign off?
I just want to say that before we started recording this video, Mr. Mayor and I had a PvP battle, and I totally kicked his ass.
My story team. That was my story team. You asked me.
That was my Johto story team too, no excuses.
That... Man. Alright. Oh, alright, there we go. But part of a good duel is that you say GG, so I'm gonna do that right now. Just for courtesy here. Because some people...
GG will play, no hard feelings.
There we go. Certainly, and I wish all duels would end like that, so there you go. Just a brief public service announcement. And with that, I think that's a good note to sign off on. This is the Roy Rogers News Channel, and thank you so much, Caillou, for being an excellent co-host, as well as having an excellent sense of humor here on the Roy Rogers News Channel.
Hey man, it was fun.
This is the Roy Rogers News Channel. Don't forget to comment and subscribe to the channel, like the content that you here, and this is the Roy Rogers News Channel signing off. Fast, accurate, Amias, Roy Rogers News. Feel free to join the fun with Caillou and also be a YouTube member if you'd like.